While watching an installment of the McBain movie series, Bart Simpson expresses amazement at how evil the main antagonist is. Homer points out that there's nobody that evil in real life. However, has failed to account for Mr. Burns, who's sitting in his office laughing evilly at a window cleaner hanger on for dear life after the platform snapped in half. Burns then closes the blinds, a scream is heard outside, and telephones Wayland Smithers Jr. to find out why the trade union leader is still absent from a meeting to discuss the proposed union contract. Smithers informs his boss the union president hasn't been seen since he promised to clean up the union. It's implied that he was killed in the effort when a football player trips over the spot where the union buried him in a stadium. Looking over the contract, Burns is disgusted with the demands and reminisces about simpler times when he observed his grandfather treating his workers very badly, ignoring their warnings about unionizing. As such, Burns chooses to avenge his grandfather and take on the greedy union by revoking their dental plan. Meanwhile, at the painless dentistry, the Simpson kids are getting their teeth checked by Dr. Wolf. During the visit, it is discovered that Lisa needs braces. When Marge informs Homer, he tells her not to worry about the cost, as the union had won a dental plan during the strike of 1988, a strike where Homer received a scar on the side of his head by the falling awning of a food truck. He also gained another scar on the back of his head from when he tried to sneak under the door of a play toilet. Later, at a meeting of the local chapter of International Brotherhood of Jazz Dancers, pastry chefs, and nuclear technicians, Carl announces the newest contract requires the union to give up their dental plan in exchange for a free keg of beer for their meetings. Homer slowly comprehends that giving up their dental plan would result in his family losing their insurance and require him to pay for Lisa's braces out of pocket. Homer jumps into action, reminding everyone how their dental plan has helped them all and how the new contract is an insult. Carl proposes Homer by the new union president and is promptly elected by a nearly unanimous vote. As his first action as the new union president, Homer rips up the contract agreeing to give up their dental plan. Burns monitors Homer on the plant security monitors with a camera planted in the keg and is impressed, asking Smithers which employee is the one taking action. A confused Smithers reminds Mr. Burns about all the encounters he's had with the Simpsons family, such as the time they ruined his gubernatorial campaign, the time Burns ran over Bart with his car, the time Homer prevented a nuclear meltdown at the plant, and the time Marge painted a nude portrait of Burns. Though Burns remembers none of it, the following morning, Homer's family all congratulate him for his new position as union president and tell him that this will give him a chance to gain better conditions for his co-workers. Although Homer's more interested in making significant connections to organized crime, Lisa asks Homer if he'll be able to get the dental plan back for her braces, and Homer tells her that it depends on whether or not he's a better negotiator than Burns. Unfortunately, everyone's hopes are dashed when Bart persuades Homer to exchange his Danish for a doorstep by simply swapping the adjectives. Dad, I'll give you this delicious doorstep for your crummy old Danish. The next day, Mr. Burns continues to mistake Homer for a brilliant tactician, confusing his attempt to get a sugar daddy off his back with exercising. Burns invites Homer to his office to try to reach an agreement, making several sly innuendos that hint toward his intent to bribe him, which Homer misconstrues as sexual advances. Homer quickly gets to his feet, saying he doesn't go for such backdoor shenanigans, and promptly leaves. After a seemingly terrifying prep before her anesthesiation and her dream in the foam of a Beatles Yellow Submarine-style drug trip, Lisa is given her new braces. Due to not having the dental plan available at the time, the only braces the Simpsons can afford are an old, outdated design that predates stainless steel and require having a couple of teeth removed from the back of her jaw. The braces ended up being extremely noticeable, leading her to call herself a monster, and even horrifying the photographer when her school pictures are taken. Meanwhile, Mr. Burns sends hired goons to Homer's in order to take him back to Burns Manor to negotiate. Mr. Burns gives Homer a tour of his mansion to give him an idea of what he's capable of, such as the largest TV in the free world and 1,000 monkeys on typewriters. He also shows Homer his aviary, where they can see birds, such as his vulture and the spoonbill. Once they actually sit to talk, Homer is overcome with a pressing need to use the restroom due to the large amount of beer, coffee, and watermelon he had drank and ate during the tour. At first, Homer tries to ignore the urge, but due to the sounds of dripping water and Burns using various innuendos in his words, he asks where the bathroom is and immediately leaves. His delayed attempts to find it among the many rooms of the mansion prompt Burns to think that Homer is unwilling to even hear him out. Infuriated by the failed meeting, Mr. Burns takes Homer back to his house via helicopter. As Burns departs, he tells Homer that he's going to crush him like a bug and then takes off laughing maniacally before falling out of the helicopter and asking Homer to rub his legs until he can feel them again, ultimately being carried off by helicopter once again in a stretcher. Homer finally becomes fed up with having to meet with Burns and tells Marge he's going to resign. She tells him he can't because his coworkers all love him at the plant. Homer tells her he sees what she means and talks about how they would rub his bald head for luck and pinches his fat to hear him squeal. Marge then rescinds her comment and tells Homer it doesn't sound like they like him at all. Homer realizes she's right and tells her that first thing the next morning he will punch Lenny in the back of the head. He follows through and then calls a meeting where he attempts to resign as president. The union misinterpret his words and immediately vote to strike. Burns is undeterred by the strike and tries several methods of breaking it up. But is bringing in 30s era strikebreakers, led by Grandpa, who proceeds to bore Burns with one of his rambling stories, involving tying an onion to his belt, trying to disperse the strikers with a hose, which falls when pressure buildup and launches Burns into the air. He and Smithers run the plant themselves and buy loyal robot workers, which turn on Burns and Smithers. On an edition of Kent Brockman's talk show Smartline, Burns is allowed an opening tirade, and he threatens dire events if the strike does not conclude. 15 minutes later, Burns and Smithers march to a secret room in the power plant and turn off the power for the whole town. Everything quickly descends into anarchy, with people looting stores and destroying property. Despite the cut power, the strikers picketing outside the plant don't lose hope and, led by Lisa, begin to sing. Burns, confident he has broken the union's spirit, steps out of his balcony to hear their reaction, but is disarmed by their unity and optimism. Finally giving up, Burns calls a meeting with Homer to concede the union's demands on one condition: that Homer must resign as union president. Homer celebrates slapstick style, prompting Burns to finally realize that Homer is not the brilliant tactician he thought he was. Homer goes outside and tells his coworkers that a deal has been reached and they're going back to work, and power is immediately returned to Springfield. With the Simpson family insured again, Lisa's obsolete braces are replaced by the dental plan covered luxury braces, and she, the Simpson family, and the dentist gather and laugh as he has left the laughing gas on.